What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Colin Thompson Show. I appreciate everybody's support. It's been a heck of a ride. The rebranding of the Colin Thompson Show brought to you by Not For Long Media and our family of podcasts here. We have a family of podcasts. We're keeping in the family, that's for sure, with Archbishop Wood graduates. We have Brian O'Grady with Breaking Bats. We have a few other podcasts, but specifically today, we have an Archbishop Wood future. Well, I guess I should say graduate. It's June 21st.
Yeah.
Gary Martin, track legend, committed to UVA, signed to UVA. Gary, appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's awesome to be on, and it's always fun to talk to an Archbishop Wood guy.
Yeah, man, I love it. Guys, Gary and all that we do here at Not For Long Media is brought to you by the original Fudge Kitchen. You're down the shore this summer, swing through, grab some sweet treats, fudge, saltwater taffy, all the way from Ocean City, New Jersey. There's 2 locations there now. All the way down to Cape May and all the locations in between. You can buy it there or they ship it across the country. So treat someone to some fudge and sweet treats this summer. There's nothing better than fudge down the shore this summer. So check them out, fudgekitchens.com, available really to ship it across the country. So speaking of cross country, speaking of track, Gary Martin, man, I mean, you've been the talk of the town when it comes to this track community, when it comes to just national news. Right? It's no secret that anymore, and anybody's listening, Gary ran a mile under 4 minutes, which is amazing. So congrats to you, first off, and we've texted and gone back and forth, so congrats. But what's it been like? Because you're just trying to focus on high school. You're just trying to focus on, competing and the process of competing and your meals and your training and your timing and your weight and your diet and your grades and then graduation and then senior prom and just being a kid too, but balancing the pressures of that you put on yourself, the outside, and then, hey, I'm going to run to Virginia next year too. So there's a certain standard for that too. How's it been for you as a senior?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's one of those things where I think I'm in a lucky position where not every kid and not every person has this type of attention and this type of support and this type of recognition for what they're doing. So I want to take it all in and enjoy it while I have it. But at the same time, you need to be able to kind of recognize what you need to take in and what you need to block out and when you need to take it in and when you need to block it out. So like you said, there's a lot going on with being a senior. There's senior prom, there's graduation, there's classes, keeping the grades up. So I think it's just about finding that balance of between athletics and really competing my best, academics and school, going to events and stuff like that, and then doing stuff like this, like media, and enjoying it and taking it all in. So you kind of need to I'm in a lucky position, but it's definitely one thing you need to do is find that balance.
Yeah, you earned it, man. I love the balance. I love the mindset. It's very professional. You'll transition unbelievably into the next level. That's what it's all about, though, right? Continue to progress every day. This is from CBSNews.com. A high school senior has broken a track and field record set in 1965 by running a sub 4-minute mile during a high school race without a pacer. Gary Martin has gotten extremely close to breaking the record during other track meets this year, but the Pennsylvania Catholic League Championship on Monday, he finally ran a 3-minute and 57-second mile. Were you tired after?
Yeah, I was definitely tired. I mean, it's one of those things where maybe I think some people think you'll be like on the ground collapsed, where maybe I'm not that, but I'm pretty winded and I'm definitely feeling it in my legs. If anything, honestly, it's more tired in the legs than it is breathing and stuff like that.
And, for those at home, Gary and I, we go to great school. I was very fortunate to go to Archbishop Wood too. I love my time there, but there's no track, folks. There's no football field either. And we continue to produce absolute studs athletically, academically, from Colin Gillespie doing it on the national stage to 4 players in the NFL to Gary Martin breaking records that have been set since 1965. So kudos to you, man. What's the support been like from the school?
It's been awesome. I mean, especially like the kids and my classmates and stuff. It's funny because obviously, like you said, I think Archbishop Wood is known as a football, basketball school. So those are the programs that tend to get the most attention. But I think especially the past few months and this year in general, I think people have started to take notice of the track program and what I've been doing because of the attention it's got. And I've got a lot of support from people, both, I mean, obviously my close friends and stuff like that, and even people who maybe I'm not so close with, just reaching out and sending encouragement and sending nice words and stuff. So it means a lot to have this type of support from school, from teachers, from the administration, and just from everyone around me.
Most importantly, and you're rocking the gold tonight, you were the anchor for the senior relay and brought home a championship for the gold team that I played for as well and won many a championship. So that's our Viking night that we do at Archbishop Wood. It's an awesome competitive night. It was my favorite time of year.
Yeah.
And I broke my foot my senior year. And the first thing I thought of was not, hey, you're going to University of Florida to play football. That's in jeopardy. All those things was I can't participate in Viking night. So that was devastating for me. How was Viking night for you? Was it a good time?
It was a ton of fun. I mean, I think I was typecasted a little bit based on my track background, but I was made the senior relay captain. So that was cool. And like you said, I got to anchor the relay team home, which was a ton of fun. And I was jumping all over the floor. We had to like dive through some hurdles, which I'm not super flexible. So even though I can run in a straight line, I'm not the best at that. So I was thankfully my speed made up for it, and I was able to hold on for the win and bring home a victory for Gold Team.
You can't teach speed, man. Speed kills. I've been working on it for years. I have gotten faster. I've gotten better, but there's certain things I'm better at than speed. That's for sure. And a lot of my teammates and coaches and everybody listening knows that. Luckily, football, there's a million different things you can do. So I've been blessed. Top in your class academically, balancing track, all these different things. UVA is recruiting you. Let's transition to the recruiting process. How important was your grades in the recruiting process when it came to picking the school that you wanted to go to, like a high-level institution like UVA?
I think it was pretty important. I mean, it's interesting because for the first even I would say 2.5 years of high school, like going to college and playing a sport wasn't in the cards. So I always expected that I'd be going to school based on grades and hopefully getting money for a scholarship based on grades. So I think that was a good incentive and bonus where I always kept my grades up because I was counting on them to get me into college, not athletics. So once I got into the college recruiting part, they were definitely helpful. Like I think schools look at it as, hey, like I have a good work ethic and I'm committed to both academics and athletics. Like even if they can get me in just off of athletics, they're going to want a kid who's good academically over a kid who's not as well, just because I think it shows something about your character and work ethic if you're willing to put in the work in the classroom as well. So it also made me look at schools that tended to be better academically, that had a good reputation. So I looked at a lot of ACC schools that were high level academically. I looked at some Ivy League, some Big East schools, but it definitely made a difference in the recruiting process.
Yeah, UVA is a wonderful place, and Charlottesville is awesome. You're going to absolutely love your time there and competing in the highest level, and get to run against some of the best track schools in the country, I'm assuming.
It's interesting because there's, like you said, it's been the ACC. They've always been a really good sprints conference, but the distance conference is kind of on the rise recently. So I'm going to be running against a lot of really good schools.
That's awesome, man. I'm so happy for you. So what was that like going back? You mentioned, when you were younger, 9th and 10th grade, you're doing well in school and you're trying to find a sport to participate in. Like, were you always in track? How'd you kind of work your way into track? Did you play any other sports?
I did. I always played, like my main sports were always baseball, soccer, basketball. Like soccer, I should say, was the big one since I was little. Like I was always a soccer player. And then as I got older, I got better at baseball and basketball. And I played like travel sports throughout, like I would say 1st through 8th grade. And then I got to high school. And I mentioned too, I ran CYO track from kindergarten to 3rd grade. And then I did it again 8th grade. But I wasn't exactly training. Like I never practiced for track. I never trained. I just I had fun with it. My friends ran it. So I showed up to meets and ran races, and I had some natural speed from soccer, so I didn't need to train for it. But Perfect. As I got into high school, the original plan was to play soccer. I was always, like I said, soccer was always my top sport, but I kind of realized that once I got into freshman year and I was doing like summer training and stuff, I didn't really love it. My heart wasn't there. So even if I was pretty good at it, you can't go far with it if your heart isn't in it. So I scrapped soccer. I decided I was going to do baseball instead. So in the fall and the winter, I joined the baseball team, trained with baseball. And again, kind of the same thing. Like I felt like my heart wasn't in it. I wasn't giving it my all. And maybe I could get by for a year or two on talent, but I knew it wasn't going to take me anywhere if I wasn't actually dedicated. So I scrapped that. And then freshman year in the spring, I decided to go out for track. And that was kind of where I found my passion and where I realized that this is a sport where my heart could be in it and I could really work and dedicate myself to the sport and be good at it.
And is there anybody in school in particular that's really helped you, your parents, teachers, coaches, that you want to shout out for thanking you and helping you, for helping you along the way?
Yeah. I mean, I think my parents are the big ones. I mean, they've been willing to work with me and guide me no matter what. I mean, they were the ones who were there, who sent me to paid for baseball practices and soccer practices freshman year, and then were okay with it and willing to let me scrap it when I decided my heart wasn't in it, and encouraged me to go out for track. And then when I got to track, just like my teammates and especially my friends in my grade who ran track, who were the ones who made me fall in love with the sport just because of the team environment and the culture, and really made me find my group of people. So big shout out to them. And even my teachers too, like the ones who, I mean, are obviously they guide you academically, but I think even more than what you learn in the classroom, just giving me life advice and pretty much telling me that my talent and my work ethic is there. And no matter what I choose to do, I'd be successful. And just that kind of guidance means a lot. So I think there's a good support system there.
There is. I had wonderful parents as well that, I wouldn't be talking to you on this mic today. People wouldn't be listening to me today. We wouldn't have sponsors today without my parents and guided me along the way. And a lot of it has to do with what, Archbishop Wood was to me and, is to you. And it's a great place with so much support for what you do academically and athletically. And I absolutely love my time there. And I'm heavily involved in the school still. And then got a chance to have guys like you on and Brian O'Grady. And Brian's got a podcast with us now too, which has been fun. But I digress. So why UVA?
It was a mix of a few things. So I think a lot of people in the track and field community, when they hear University of Virginia, the first thing they think of is Vin Lanana, who Vin Lanana is the head coach at the school right now. And he previously coached at Dartmouth, Stanford, and Oregon. And he's been in coaching for, I want to say, about 35 years now. And in those 35 years, he's won, I think, a total of 13 national championships between cross country, indoor, and outdoor track. So he's coached some of the best teams in the country. He's produced some of the best distance runners in the country over the past few decades. And now he's arrived to Virginia 3 years ago, and he's working on building a program there. So that's kind of the first thing comes to mind for a lot of people. And it was the first thing that I looked at when I started looking at Virginia. But as I started to look at the school and the program, it went a lot deeper than that. I looked at the school academically. I realized they had a good reputation. They had a wide variety of classes, which is good for me because I don't know what I want to study. So I'm excited to go there and take a couple years and figure it out. And then really from there, it was just visiting campus, visiting the school. It felt like the right fit. I felt at home. I felt like I could see myself spending 4 years there. And the big thing was the people, like Coach Vin, Coach Trevor Dunbar. Those guys are fantastic coaches. They have a great reputation, great resume, but they're just better people. And I felt like I connected with them and that I could see myself training under them and that their training fit well for me. And then it was just the guys and the girls on the team who I got to meet who were really awesome. And it kind of felt like a family already. And it felt like what I had at Archbishop Wood. And it made me want to be a part of that community.
Yeah, it's a great place. And, that's the place too. Like I went to University of Florida first before I went to Temple, and a place that like all the sports are good. To some extent, right? So you're going to be at watching baseball games, you're going to be at football games, you're going to be at, volleyball games, women's basketball games, gymnastics. Like you get to experience all that. There's something really special about a big school like a Virginia or a Penn State or a Florida or whatever it may be. So I'm so happy you get to experience that, man. That's fantastic. So can you take us into what you're doing now, like to separate yourself, like just nutrition wise, because even a high school athlete, like you got to think about that stuff. If you're going to compete at this high level, like a nationally recruited person, you're breaking records, like you're not just floating aimlessly through it. Like a lot of high school kids are, and that's okay. And that's fine. And they get by, but I'm assuming you're at a different level now with your off the field preparations too, or I should say the track.
Yeah, I would say so. It's interesting because I feel like in my past 2 years, when I've gotten a lot serious about running, it's been a balance of figuring out the physical preparations and the mental preparations. Like I've gone through phases in my training where I've been so serious and so crazy about my dieting and eating healthy that I'm making myself crazy mentally, and that's not good either. So I've kind of found that balance. Like the big thing is I feel like I don't really eat much like fast food and soda. I used to eat a lot of before I run track, but there are two things that I don't really enjoy that much, and it was just kind of out of convenience. So if it's not something I enjoy, then those are the easy things for me to cut out. So I don't eat fast food anymore. I don't drink soda. But like if I love cookies, I love brownies. If I want to have a cookie or a brownie, I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to make myself crazy, not letting myself eat it. But it's just trying to eat healthy, try to eat natural, a lot of healthy foods in general. That way, if 85% of your diet is healthy, you can afford to treat yourself when you want to and just have that dessert or have that maybe that cheesesteak or something every once in a while. And
yeah,
you know what I mean? If you set good habits, then you can afford to deviate from them every once in a while.
I hear you, man. I was about to say, hey, Gary, have a cheesesteak. You can burn it off. How many people will probably tell you that? You can burn it off. You can run, whatever. You're probably like, I know that, but I also need to continue to not just get all. I don't need to burn it off. I mean, I need to go to another level with your preparation.
Yeah,
I mean,
the big thing is the big thing is just feeling good. Like I don't eat cheesesteaks because I know if I eat a cheesesteak the day of a run, I'm going to feel terrible for it. So I want to do whatever's going to make me feel good. I run so much, I can afford to eat more than the average person probably, and I can eat a little, like eat some desserts for dinner and feel good the next day. So I can get away with that, but I eat pretty healthy.
yeah, the sugar, you're burning right through that. So take us in though, like night before a race, say the race is at night. When are the races? Usually at night, afternoon?
Depends. It's interesting. It depends. There's some cross country actually tends to be earlier in the morning, so we'll have early morning cross country meets. But a lot of track meets at a higher level or at night, like late at
All
night.
right. So say you have a night meet. It's pen relays, which you're probably doing today too. But and you killed that too, and you killed the state championship, and you're on a run, man. It's been fun watching. So okay, so take us in like the night before, the day before, and the day of, like hydration, meals. Like take us through that process all the way up until the track meet.
So the first thing I'll mention is hydration is interesting because I know a lot of people like track water intake, but I'm not even someone who tracks it. Again, it's about establishing habits. Like when I started running, I've established a pretty good habit of drinking a lot of water. Like you can see right here, it's a giant, like we have stadium cups in our house when we went to Phillies and Eagles games. So yeah, I'll keep like my stadium cups. They're good for holding a lot of water. So I pretty much just always have one with me. I'm always drinking water. If I feel my throat get dry, I'll have a sip of water. So hydration is never an issue because I keep pretty hydrated. I couldn't tell you the exact amount, but when I do measure it, I've measured it a few times and I'm usually well over 100 ounces, closer to like 150 a day. So
Yeah,
that's a general estimate.
have a sip of water, Gary. I love it. Now, meal wise though, like take me into it. Like, do you have like for me, like night before a game, I like to eat some of like 2 or 3 of these types of meals, and then the day of the game, I eat 4 hours before the game. I try to stay away from breakfast food. I eat pasta, broccoli, chicken, and a roll. Like I've eaten that my entire career, whether it's 8 a.m., 6 a.m., 4 p.m. in the afternoon. That's my pregame meal 4 hours before kickoff. Do you have something like that?
I kind of do. So it's interesting again because I have like my set routine for when I'm at home, but it gets more difficult once you get into postseason and you're doing a lot of travel. You're staying in hotels and stuff. But when I'm at home, I like to order some food. I like to get it's funny. There's this one pizza place and they have this like chicken avocado with spinach wrap that I ate before like every meet for like 4 months. And I'm not as strict with it anymore, but I'll still get it occasionally. I'll get that, or I'll get like some type of pasta with chicken the night before. Just something that is filling, but I know I can trust in my stomach the next day, and usually works pretty well for me.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to go into the next day unless there's any question.
Hit me with it.
Yeah. So morning of the next day, I actually have a breakfast I'll eat pretty much every day, whether it's a race or not, because it's funny. I usually get tired of breakfasts after a few months, but this one, for whatever reason, is stuck. So I'll do like frozen Kodiak cake protein waffles with almond butter in the morning.
Nice.
That's like my go-to breakfast, whether it's before school, whether it's before practice, whether it's before a race. It's filling, but it gets the job done. It doesn't linger in the stomach too long. So it's good for a race. And then if I have a race in the afternoon or in the morning, that's all I'll eat. Like even if it's 6 hours out, I'll eat that. And then I'll eat like a granola bar or something, maybe a couple hours before, but that's the big thing. And then if it's a race at night, I usually eat like I've been doing Wawa chicken sandwiches, like a chicken sandwich with avocado, spinach, and roasted vegetables, like 3 or 4 hours before the race.
Look at you, man, just getting after it. Just wait till you're in college, man. You will be dialed in. They're going to be having the same thing at the hotel the night before your meets the next day. Yeah, you'll be dialed with it. Even you're dialed right now, and that's the difference. I mean, that's the next level of it, right? Just aimlessly walking through it or being prepared and going after it. That's freaking awesome, man. There's so many different questions I want to ask you, but really track wise, like what is the next step? Like I know you're going to UVA and you want to run, but like your numbers are numbers. Like I can break a 4-minute mile. Like, do you want to go to UVA and then go to the Olympics? Like, how does this work at this next level?
It's interesting because I mean the Olympics is definitely the goal, and track is weird because with other sports like NBA, the NFL, there's a clear path. It goes high school, college, then pro. Like you spend however many years in college and you go pro, but track is way different because it's very fluid. You have guys who go pro right out of high school. You have guys who spend a year or two in college and go pro. You have guys who spend 5 years in college and go pro. But I mean, the Olympics is like the pinnacle of track and field. So most of it revolves around that. And obviously we have an Olympic year in 2024. So that'll be the end of my sophomore year. And the way that works is to go to the United States Olympic trials, you have to run, they do a 1500 instead of a mile, which is 109 meters shorter. So you have to run a 3:37.5 1500 to go to the trials, which converts to right around a 3:54 mile. So pretty much if I want to go to the Olympic trials in 2024, I have 2 years to get my mile time down about 4 seconds, which in my mind is very doable. Like the goal is be at the Olympic trials in 2024. And then from there, the top 3 finishers in the race go to the Olympics. So there's probably about, I want to say 40 or 50 guys who qualify for the trials, and then the top 3 go to the Olympics. So that's the path to go to the Olympics for a track athlete.
So can you go to the Olympics? Say you make or don't make the Olympics in 2 years coming up. Now, do you like finish your career at UVA and then you continue to train for it? Like, is there like a US Olympic ground, like where you go train in like a home base, or you could train at UVA and still train for that and go to school? Like, is that a possibility too for the next Olympics as well?
There's no real, there's no Olympic training ground. So different people take different paths. There's been guys who have gone to the Olympics, stayed in college, and ran another 3 years in college after that. Or there's guys who, like for an example I'll use is this runner, Cole Hocker, who was a runner for the University of Oregon this year. And he was in his second year at Oregon, and he qualified for the Olympics in the 1500. And since he qualified for the Olympics, he had shoe companies reaching out to him saying, hey, we want to sign you. We want to go pro. And since it's an Olympic year, he's getting offered more money than he would otherwise, if that makes sense. Most likely, at least I'm inferring. It's logical to think he would probably get offered more money because companies want him to represent them at the Olympics. So he's getting offered more money to go to the Olympics, go to the trials, and he signed pro after his second year of college. And then he runs pro at the Olympics. And then I'm assuming still studies in college, but he joins a pro group in Oregon where they don't have one Olympic training ground, but there's probably about like 20 or 30 pro teams across the country where runners will go and train with other pro runners.
That's awesome. I love it, man. I love the business side of it. I love the next steps. That's what really draws me in, different ways, the background that no one knows about that's in the business. Like, yeah, I flipped the channel, we'll be flipping the ACC network on to watch you run, but the lead up, like, what'd you eat? What'd you do? Yeah. You're going to be dialed in with those meals in college. You're going to be texting me like, oh yeah, here's what I'm eating now. This makes me go the best. I can make up those 3 seconds easily if I eat X, Y, and Z. You're going to be lifting, training. That's going to be cool, man. I'm really excited for you. We're going to actually go over to Twitter now. There's some people that sent some tweets in for you. I appreciate everybody following us and just shouting us out on Twitter. So James Doak tweets in, how much time do you commit, Gary, in a typical week to doing non-running training, such as strength training, core work, etc.? And what specifically does that training entail? Thank you, James, for the question.
So that's a good question. Honestly, the answer I'll give right now is not enough, honestly. Like that's something I want to work on because I do a good bit of recovery work. Like after every run, I have a muscle roller. I have massage guns. I'll stretch roll. I'll use ropes. So I do a pretty good job of keeping my body loose. I have compression boots that keep my legs pretty fresh. But one area I want to work on actually is core work and strength, because that's actually one area I recognize as a weakness. I'm not the strongest in terms of core strength. And as a distance runner, it's not the most important thing, but it probably makes up like 5%, which as you're moving forward, that 5% becomes a lot more important when everyone else is as fit as you. So as I'm getting into college, I know I'm going to have to dedicate more time to strength training, lifting, core work, stuff like that, because I did a little bit of strength training this year, like especially during winter track and cross country, because it's a little more like that, especially there's less racing and it's more building a base and strength training. So I can afford to be lifting twice a week and have my legs feeling a little more tired because I'm not racing. But once I get into spring track, it's a little bit of a shorter season. It's a lot more big races. And as a distance runner, if I'm lifting twice a week, I'm probably going to be feeling a little more tired. I'm not going to have as much pop in the legs as I get the races. So I kind of cut down on the lifting once I get into outdoor track season. But when I get into college, it's something I want to work on and get stronger with.
I'm going to mark this down right now. 3:41, Tuesday, June 21st, Not For Long Media, the Colin Thompson Show. I am confirming that Gary Martin will be representing the United States of America in the Olympics in either 2 years or 6 years once he starts training and eating at the highest level possible, which you can't even do in high school, but you will. And I'm marking it right now, Jack. Mark it down, buddy, because it's going to happen. We can't wait to watch. Okay. I digress. Jack, Mr. Nolan, tweets in, does he see himself as more of a 1500 or a 5K guy or both at UVA?
I think it's probably both. I see myself as more of a 1500-meter runner. And I know Jack, I've seen him on Twitter, so I know he'll understand where I'm coming from with this. But as a distance runner, it's a lot easier to move up in distance than it is to move down as you get older. Because realistically, as you're getting older, you're probably losing speed and gaining strength. And the 1500 is obviously you need strength for both, but it's more of a speed event than the 5K. And I think I have enough speed to contend in the 1500. So I want to try to stay at that distance for as long as possible. And then maybe if I realize once I get to college that I'm great at the 1500, but I don't have enough strength or I don't have enough speed to be that top guy, then maybe I make that decision to move up to the 5K and work on the strength there. But for now, everything I've done in high school and everything I've done training wise leads me to believe that I can be one of the best 1500-meter guys in the country. So obviously I want to run both, but I want to stick with the 15 for as long as possible.
Love that. I love that. It's awesome stuff, man. We're so jacked. Quick little note, quick hitters from me, and then we're going to wrap things up. Cheesesteak or pretzel?
Cheesesteak for sure. I mean, I like pretzels, but cheesesteak with whiz and fried onions is like one of my perfect cheat meals. Like I'm a big cheesesteak guy, so I will definitely choose cheesesteak 10 out of 10 times.
Where are you getting that cheesesteak at?
I don't know. It's tough. Obviously, as a guy from Philly or as a guy from the Philly area, I can't even say that. I get asked that a lot, and my response is usually, I don't know for sure because I live 40 minutes from Philly, and I'm not
Where's the local place? There's got to be. That's the thing that people don't understand from Philly, though. Like the Philly cheesesteaks are good. Don't get me wrong, but where you're from, where Gary and I are from, there's great pizza places. Like there's great places that have cheesesteaks. No,
you're not wrong. Actually, there's one that comes to mind is even just like what's it called? Where are you from around here? What town are you from?
I'm from Doylestown.
So what's the Lee's Hoagie? Like Lee's Hoagies has pretty good cheesesteaks.
They do. So shout out to Lee's Hoagies. Sponsor Gary Martin NIL deal.
Yeah, I thank you. And Dino's Pizza has good ones. They're in Warminster. They have good hoagies.
Oh, here comes Jack in the back. He's barging his way in. He's not even asked to come in. What do you got, Jack?
I'm trying to get set up here. It's a little laggy, but I mean, if we're putting on a spot, it's got to be Silvio's Deli. It's a place around me. It's very good.
Hatboro, right?
Yeah, it's Hatboro. Hatboro. Where are you from? Hatboro, Gary?
I'm from Warminster, but I'm like 5 minutes from Hatboro, so I'm constantly in the area.
Meaning he runs through the area probably.
Yeah, I've ran past Silvio's Deli.
There you go. Yeah. Gary, what's the farthest you ran in one kick? The farthest you've ran?
I've run 15 miles in as long as I've run. That's like a typical, like as a runner, you usually do a long run once a week. And for me, that's usually like 10 to 12 miles, but I've had a few where they've been like 14, 15. So 15 is the longest I've done.
So for me, when I'm done playing Gary, I cannot wait to lose weight, go back down to being like probably what a normal weight for me would probably be like 220, 225. I'm not playing football again when I'm done, right? But it's a little bit different sport than track. So track, it's like I finish and like, are you the guy that's still going to run? Are you the guy that's going to like put on some weight now because you can and then go run the Boston Marathon? Like, are you going to do that? Or what type of Gary Martin post-career are you going to be?
I think I'll still run because, I mean, it's interesting because running is the one sport where it kind of feels like even when you retire competitively, like you're not done as a runner, where there's so many road races and stuff in the air. Like you mentioned the Boston Marathon, like they have masters divisions and you can compete competitively in your age group. So I could be 70 years old and being the top 70-year-old there. So the plan is to run for as long as possible. Obviously I'm not going to have the speed for forever. So I don't think I'll be a miler forever, but that's kind of the common thing you see is a lot of really good track runners as they get older, move up to half marathon, maybe even like ultra marathons. I don't see myself doing that, but there's some guys who are crazy enough to do it.
And I have more questions pouring in as we go on. So for me, like I'm a guy. We'll go football real quick. I'm a guy that does a lot of more short sprints. It's 50 plays a game. For me, it's like 25 plays a game. What can I do to work on my speed? Because I'm sprinting a lot, shorter distances. I run a lot of tempo runs. I do a lot of footwork, jump rope, cone drills, etc. From a pro like yourself, what could I do to improve my speed? Start running 200s?
Maybe. I mean, it's interesting because I do a lot of distance speed work, and the big thing you do, if I want to run 800 meters at 55 seconds a lap around the track, you're not going to go out and try to run that pace for 800 meters constantly. You're going to split it up into 100-meter sprints, 150-meter sprints. So it's really just breaking it, like the combination of the strength work, which is running at a longer distance at a slower pace but still uncomfortable, and then the speed work, which is shorter intervals at either the pace you want to run the race at or faster than the pace you want to run the race at. So I think it's kind of, for football players, it's a little different because I think mechanics and stuff are more important because you're really trying to get the most out of that sprint speed as possible. It's more similar to sprinters than it is distance runners as a football player. But I definitely think short intervals and flies and stuff like that are the best thing you can do for speed work.
There we go. I'm going to be giving Gary Martin a percentage of my contract next year. I appreciate you, Gary. So the easy one was cheesesteak over pretzel. I mean, I just kind of put them. I like putting stuff together on the fly, Gary. I like conversation piece. I do a little bit of prep, but I'd rather just have a conversation with you because I don't know. I feel like this is better than some.
Fun that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a newspaper reporter. Okay. So cheesesteak over pretzel, easy. Water ice or ice cream?
Ice cream. I've never been a huge water ice guy. I know that's very popular in the area, but I'm very partial to ice cream.
I'm hear you. I mean, I like a water ice. Don't get me wrong. I would be okay with it, right? But I'm on the same page. Ice cream is it's year round. It's way better. How about this? Pancake or waffle, or French toast?
That's a tough one. I was just having this debate with someone yesterday because
it's a big time debate, Gary. It's a problem in our country. We got to put an end to this. What does Gary Martin want?
I don't know. I feel like I flip flop, like depending on the month, like what kind of mood I'm in. But right now, I would kind of say the rankings would go pancake, French toast, waffle. But I'm a huge fan of all three. If you throw any of them in front of me, I will eat it. So I have no complaints, nothing against waffles. But pancakes, the way they soak up the syrup and you can like get a really nice and thick and fluffy pancake, it hits perfectly on breakfast. I
couldn't agree anymore, Gary. We're absolutely on the same page with that. I think pancakes won. It's America's pastime. Right? Anywhere you go, they got pancakes on the menu. Some are better than others, obviously, but I couldn't agree more. Okay. Philadelphia sports teams. Can you rank them in your fandom? Are you a Philadelphia sports fan? I should ask. I think you are.
I'm a big Philadelphia sports fan, yes.
Okay. Rank them in your fandom for us.
So 76ers are way up at top. Like I'm a huge Sixers fan. I listen to Sixers podcasts. I'm all over.
Play the music, Jack. Play the music.
Huge Red Cirque Sanchez fan, huge Sixers fan. I'm all over Sixers Twitter. So Sixers are number one. Eagles are number two. I'm probably a little more casually of an Eagles fan. Like I'm not as diehard. I'm not all over Eagles Twitter. I don't listen to Eagles podcasts, but I can still name most of the players. I know what's going on. I'm up to date. I watch every game. Phillies are number three. I feel like it's been hard to be a Phillies fan because they've struggled so much the past 10 years. I think if they were better, I'd probably be a bigger fan because I do like baseball. I think the whole analytics aspect of baseball is very interesting to me, all the different stats and stuff. And I've always been a fan of that. But I have never followed it as seriously as I have basketball and football. So Phillies are number three. And then there's big drop off from there. It's probably the Flyers next, but I'm not a big hockey guy, so I don't really watch too much of those. The Eagles or Sixers, Eagles, and Phillies are the big three.
Yeah, I'm a diehard hockey fan. I'm a huge Flyers fan. They're number one for me, but it's weird with football. I don't watch the Eagles. I didn't grow up an Eagles fan, but I grew up a Phillies fan, a Sixers fan. I support the Eagles, but I don't root for them. Regardless, it's funny. So when I was in your situation, my junior and senior year, all through high school, the Phillies were unreal. Like 2008, they won it. I believe they did. 2008, they won it. Right. That was like incredible for me. Like that just sparked my fandom. Like every single night, I remember being just drawn to Phillies are on. We're watching the game. They had all the pitchers that were aces. It was it was crazy. Like it felt like every game was an Eagles game. Football, it's like everyone's dialed in. It's Sunday because it's a 1 day a week and every game is just huge gravity. That's where the Phillies were like Gary. So that's where I was at. And then the crash, like when I went to college, it was like, boom, crash landing. And with the huge, biggest payroll in freaking sports, other than like 2 franchises, how to not to make it work. But they've been fun. They had an awesome month, of June here. Ever since Girardi, was let go, whether it was on him or not, I don't know. I don't blame managers. I blame players. I think I'm a players guy. You got to perform as a player at the end of the day. But regardless, your Phillies are rolling, Gary. They're rolling.
It's been fun. That's the thing. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a huge Phillies fan because I feel like I'm a fair weather fan where I'm. Yeah. I mean, when they're on, they're fun to watch, and I'm following all the games, following box scores. I'm following who's hot, who's not, all the stats and stuff like that. I'm tuning into games whenever I can, but it's this year is more exciting than the past few. But in my lifetime and my coming of age as a sports fan, the Phillies haven't been that good. So I'm hoping they turn the corner as I enter college and I can buy in more.
Are you getting a hot dog at the baseball game? Or are you getting a sausage sandwich?
Probably neither. I'm probably getting a cheesesteak, but I kind of like the sausage with like
peppers,
or sauerkraut, or like that's good to me.
Okay, so the dream day we're looking at it, folks. It's pancakes in the morning. It's a cheesesteak for lunch. It's a sausage with sauerkraut and peppers. I mean, and for dessert, it's ice cream. There it is.
Yes.
That's the Gary Martin special.
Yes, it is.
And get up in the morning after those pancakes and run about 10 miles around Hatboro and see Jack and the boys. And Gary, it's been fun, man. Best of luck. Can't wait to see what you do, at UVA and, at the Olympics after that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on, Colin. It's been a lot of fun.
Archbishop Wood legend, the great Gary Martin. Thanks for coming on, Gary. We really appreciate it, man. Gary's brought to you by the original Fudge Kitchen, and all our friends and guests over here at the Not for Long Media are brought to you by the original Fudge Kitchen, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country. So it's been an absolute blast talking to Gary. He's an absolute stud. Jack's going to pop in here, and we're going to finish up the last several minutes. How about Gary, man? He was great.
That was phenomenal. It was funny. He was talking about baseball analytics. My beach excursion last week, my big purchase wasn't even a beach. There's a bookstore. I had to buy Moneyball. So that was my big beach expenditure. A full $10.
Look at you, Jack. The big money in Not for Long Media, man. It's paying off. You got a good read on the beach with maybe a water ice, or as Gary would say, a water ice, which I used to say. But in my travels, as Gary will know, you say water to somebody, they think you're crazy, and you gotta lose the accent. So I still have the accent, but
I don't really have one. I've been told I have by some people I have a Delco accent. I'm like, no, I don't. I literally don't have no Philly accent. I have no Philly accent.
Do not say that.
But I'm surprised you're talking of Gary's giving you tips to be faster. I'm surprised you didn't tell him to wear sweatpants. That's your go-to.
Listen, there's a lot of secrets about looking faster and actually being faster. You run the same amount of time.
How fast he looked, though? How fast he would look if he was wearing sweatpants, though? I mean, that's
white cleats, white shoes, white cleats. You run faster. Absolutely. Yeah, so awesome stuff. Guys, honestly, check out fudgekitchens.com. It's the best in the summer. I just shipped a couple boxes out to people. They were just absolutely shocked. It tastes great. It's affordable. It's delicious. It's fresh. They make it fresh right there. It's so cool. I can't wait to go. I'll be down the shore this weekend, and I'll be in there talking to the guys, and they cook all the flavors at different temperatures. That creates different flavors. Right in the back. This isn't something that's boxed and shipped and then they ship it out. This is made right on site, which is just the freaking best. Fudgekitchens.com, excuse me. Check them out on social media. The best fudge and sweet treats in the country. Bottom line. All right, Jack. So Golden State, shocker, win it. There's a lot of people I talked to before this finals. Boston. A couple people here. I'm like, nope, they're going to be fine. They're not going to be able to play with them. Steph Curry is one of the best players of all time. I think now he's got to be top 10 of all time, right? He has to be.
Yeah. That's now his fourth ring, and he's got fourth ring in 8 years, plus probably 10 All-Stars at this point. And he's without doubt considered by everybody to pretty much change the game of basketball entirely. I mean, you see these people once every 20 years. Allen Iverson did it in the early 2000s with the crossover. Now it's Steph with the three-pointer. I mean, even he's just most iconic too, and he's absolutely a top 10 player in basketball history.
I didn't get to watch much. I'll say this: when they were rolling in their prime, Klay Thompson was so much fun to watch. Was he the same guy? Is he the same guy, Jack?
He's still good. I mean, he had some really great playoff performances. Game 6 in the playoffs was phenomenal. Game 6 Klay is one of the most iconic performances you can ask for on a consistent basis. But I mean, he's been solid. Obviously, he's not on that level. I mean, one of my first Sixers games I went to during the process era was 2017. It was right after Embiid broke his foot. They were playing that peak of their prime, Hamptons 5 Golden State with Kevin Durant and everybody. And it was just, I went to I mean, Sixers you're obviously going to watch them, but I was just watching Golden State, just Steph. I mean, I'm never going to see a basketball team like that again. I mean, they are probably, them, the 96 Bulls are the 2 best basketball teams in a single season ever, in my opinion.
I think some of the Shaq and Kobe Lakers people wouldn't go back with that. But I'm not saying, you're saying team. I mean, the teams are loaded. They got a deep bench. They have veterans. They have good players they have good leadership. They have, star power with multiple players within the top. I mean, Klay will probably go down as what, top 200 player in NBA history?
He'll be a top 5 3-point shooter of all time. I would assume will be Steph, Ray Allen.
He could guard in his prime, man. He could really guard. I remember when he was up for being a free agent. I'm like, please, Sixers, please.
I remember I was pushing for it. There's no shot especially now, no shot any of those 3 ever leaves Golden State for the rest. They're going to be lifers, all 3 of them. Draymond Green had a down year and Golden State handed him a 4-year max contract almost, or it was a near a 4-year max. I mean, they have their core together, even young guys, and their ownership has said we're going as deep into luxury tax as necessary to keep everybody. They're going to be paying Wiggins a near max, Jordan Poole probably $20 million a year. He's going to get a hefty raise. Gary Payton II is going to get a hefty raise. And the thing is, they can pay these guys because they already have them under retention. It's going to be I think they have a $200 million luxury tax bill right now. It's going to probably be about $400 million after it's all said and done. But big money creates big money. I mean, keeping all those guys around for their primes, Wiggins, Poole, and Kuminga, all the guys they got coming up.
And as the great Biggie Smalls would say, no money, no problems. So I forgot to ask Gary, darn it. Do you sign James Harden to extension?
Yeah. So, what's been going around right now, and I think is pretty much a very big consensus win-win, is I'm not sure of the exact timeline, but the new deal that is expected and James Harden is wanting, and Sixers ownership is wanting, is a 2-year contract with a player option. Whether that's he opts into the player option now and then they sign him to a 2-year max contract after, or they sign him to that this offseason. But, I think that's pretty good. It gives him till he's about 34, 35, keeps Harden in the mix right now, but it doesn't kill them because pretty much when that contract ends, Tobias Harris's contract will also be ending, and you'll have Tyrese Maxey his contract will be up, but you can maneuver the cap to sign guys and then sign Maxey over the cap. So you'll have 2 max contract slots next to Joel Embiid in 2 seasons with this new deal, which I think is a win-win for everybody.
Okay. I think that's what is needed for the Sixers to make the next step. We got an echo going here. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, we'll see what happens with James. I'm not sold in the playoff James. So you're going to have to put 2 max guys around Joel, and James can be the star one night, and the next night he can be a facilitator. And I think that's, every good team's got to be like that, right? You see with Golden State, they have some guys are hot, some guys are not. That's enough of the NBA talk, Jack. NBA season's over. It's baseball season now, which is, the long days, the dog days of summer baseball season. But thank God the Phillies are relevant. So we can work through those tough days because they play on every night just about, and they're really a fun team to watch. Stanley Cup playoffs, Jack. Oof. My Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm a dynasty lover, Jack. I want dynasties to continue to be great. I want Alabama to win every year. I want Tampa to win every year. Now, the Yankees are a dynasty, but they're an old dynasty, right? I respect teams that can win consistently like that because that is so hard to do, let alone win one season. It's ridiculously hard. To me, I just want to see teams. So I'm I love Golden State. Great, win. Keep winning. People can complain all they want. So I'm a dynasty guy. So Tampa, huge win last night and a beatdown, which you think Tampa's going to come back and ring the bell and show up, but I don't know. Colorado looked like a whole different team. Now, I'll say this. It is not easy to breathe out there in Colorado. We had a joint practice with the Denver Broncos, and I'm in warm-ups, and I am dying. And I'm like, oh, boy, this is going to be a little bit harder than I thought. And those guys are out there just putzing around. It's a normal thing. Their body has adjusted, to the air out there. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I get it's the Cup final, but the Tampa Bay Lightning have played more games in the last 3 or 4 years than anybody. They've been really playing a lot of hockey games. So I digress. Tampa now 2-1. The season's back to being wide open. Tampa's at home again. Great barn to watch a game. So biased, I think Tampa's going to come back and win it. I said it before. Tampa in 6. Are they going to win 3 straight now? I don't know, but we'll see what happens. Thoughts, Jack?
I mean, first off, when I was watching my friends the other night, game 2, I felt like every time we turned around, there was another goal. I mean, look, it was 4-0. We look back, it was 5-0. Then it was 6-0.
Best goalie in the world. Best goalie in the world. Now it's team sport. They were. It was like a track meet, Jack. It's like a track. Look at a basketball game. Steph Curry just cheating down there, waiting to pop up a 3 from the logo. That's what it looked like. But there's a lot of talent on both sides. It's a great Stanley Cup to watch. I mean, this is who you pick to start it. So if you're not convinced and hockey's boring, I get all that, but it's time to tune in because it's really good right now. It's a good product. I'll tell you what, I do miss. The ESPN group's great. There's a lot of big names. Chelios, Messier. I love Levy, Boucher-Gross. Like, it's awesome. Melrose, PK Subban's involved. It's great. But man, the TNT group with Biz and Tockett, Liam, Anderson Carter, TNT does it right with the broadcasters. And again, ESPN's got a great group. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, they got Charles Barkley's involved. Like Charles again, he's doing both. He was on last night too. Charles, I said this. Every one of us, myself, every former player should be giving Charles a percent. We should be giving Charles, everybody, 1% of our contracts when it comes to post-career media. Because now you can have a personality. Now you can actually tell the truth, and you're applauded by it. No one did that before Charles. I mean, you guys can say they did it, but not really. Charles is tweeting it. Charles is going at players. Players are tweeting at him. Durant's tweeting at him like that. And he's just saying what's on his mind. And he's smart. He's educated. He's well thought out. He's well respected in the industry on and off the court. So, Charles, I'll be cutting you 1%, buddy, if I ever get a job doing post game. Because to me, it's like guys in suits saying all the same thing. Don't turn the ball over. Be smart. And I've said the same things on broadcast before. But Charles has changed the game. TNT, because of the way they have leaned into it, props to them, props to Charles, props to their whole basketball show they got going on because they do a great job. But it's bled over to hockey. And that product that TNT does hockey-wise is fantastic. But ABC has the deal. ESPN has the deal for the finals. So good stuff. I digress, Jack. Anything for you as we wrap this up?
I was just going to say, it sounds like we need to send Charles a box of fudge.
Charles Barkley, you get a box of fudge, sir. FudgeKitchens.com. The original Fudge Kitchen. I can't wait, Jack. I can't wait to get down there. Put my hands on some fudge. I like the maple walnut. It's fantastic. I like the mint. It's fantastic. I like the peanut butter. It's fantastic. Oh, Jack, saltwater taffy.
I mean, I'm a very basic. Peanut butter is kind of my go-to. I mean, I'm really not a big, like, I love fudge. Like, I don't really go, like, outside of my wheel. I guess I need to try some different ones this time, but I'm very basic in my flavors.
Well, hey, listen, Jack, to each his own, but our sponsor is the original Fudge Kitchen, but they got 40 flavors. So get your act together and get down to the original Fudge Kitchen, FudgeKitchens.com, and ship yourself some fudge. Guys, I appreciate everybody tuning in. It was great to have Gary Martin on, someone that I'm full transparency. I think I'm somewhat involved in the school, Archbishop Wood, where we both graduated from, and some things off the field and, football wise, and some things in the school and, administrationally. And it's been an absolute blast being a part of it and, giving not back, but just being involved and getting to know the people there. But a guy like a Gary and it's Colin Gillespie and Brian O'Grady and Ryan Bates, Kyle Pitts. We have more guys coming in the league this year. It's a wonderful place, and I'm lucky to graduate there. So props to Gary. Props to him. Props to all the people that supported him through that school. It's not easy to be a high school athlete at that high level, and he's done it, and he's going to UVA. So awesome place to go to school. So thanks for Gary for coming on. I appreciate everybody tuning into another episode of the Colin Thompson Show. That's Jack Connell. I'm Colin Thompson. Thank you so much to our team and Not For Long Media for making this thing tick and go. And we'll see you guys next week. We'll have a few different things going on. We're doing some interviews right now too, getting prepared for next week too. So lots to talk about, lots going on. Appreciate everybody tuning in.